Alright guys, good evening and welcome back. Alright, my name is Mr. Defined. Now in today's video I want to show us how to draft a female shot. Now here on the paper I have is my customer's measurements. Now the waist of my customer is 36. Now the hips is 47, the laps is 28, the knee circumference is 21, the length of the shot is 24, right? This is for a female shot, right? Now before you proceed in drafting a female shot, there is one thing you need to know, and that thing is you consider if the shot you are making for your customer is going to be a high waist shot. Now you know in female shots they have the regular waist and they have the high waist as regards to pants and shorts for them, as well for skirts as well. So in the shorts you consider if your customer will like to have a high waist short or a regular short. Now this will be the sole decision of your client. Now in this illustration we are going to give examples of how to draft a regular waist shot and a high waist shot. Now the formula for the flap or the crouch, right, remains hips measurements over 4 minus 1. This is the formula for a flap of a lady, right? Divide the hips of your customer over 4 minus 1, then you have an actual flap that suits your customer's crouch for a female. But bear in mind this is for regular waists. That's the normal waist, right? Without being a high waist, it's a normal waist. Then convention will tell you that in making a high waist shot, all you need to do is divide the hips of your customer, hips over 4, plus 2 inches to 3 inches, right? That's divide the hips of your customer, add it either 2 inches, 2.5 or 3. In some cases you add 4. Now it all depends on how hippie and how high you want the customer's high waist to be. But then in some cases you might not be able to know how high or the value you will add in respect to the customer's choice of how high she wants the clothes to be. So what you will do to solve this problem, in order not to be confused, what I would do is when measuring your customer, measure from her original waist to the new waist, trying to get the difference between the 2 points, right? So in most cases I use extra 3 for a normal high waist. But if my customer happens to be hippie, that if she has a lot of hips or her hip measurement is big, then I will go to 4 inches. But bear in mind that 4 inches might be too high for her, except when she demands for that. So having said that, then we are going to work with the high waist shot, and then I will show you how you will use a pattern of short cutting which I call the plumb line in the cutting of the shorts. So let's go down to the business. Now this is the measurement of my customer I have, and this is what we are going to work with, right? So let me get my chalk and then let's proceed. All right, so this is the fabric I have here with me. So I am going to open it up. This is an Ankara, I think, Ghana print. So I like using Ghana prints in making my shirts for my customers because it gives you that African feeling more than the regular shirts, right? Prints. All right, so I'm going to take this measurement from one side so that I can preserve the other fabric for some other stuffs. All right, so the prints, I think I am going to go from this direction. Let me go from this direction so that it will be very much okay for me. All right, so now, having explained to us the basic difference between a high waist short and a regular short, now this is the time for us to start drafting. Now bear in mind that the reason I am trying to explain this to us is for us to understand properly and how to go about this. I have made previous videos on shorts, but I think I want to explain further, so that in case we don't understand the previous videos, this one will give us more room to understand. And as well, I will also make the video on sewing of this particular short for us to as well understand. Right, if you have watched the previous videos, you can still stick around to the end of the video, watch it for you to understand, because I am trying to make use of another method in the cutting processes now, and not the regular one I used in my previous video. Now, having gotten to this stage, you always remove or mark out your baselines. You always mark out your baselines. Now this baseline is very much important. You mark it out this way, and then once you have marked it out, now the next thing you will do is you apply 2 inches at this point. Now these 2 inches you're putting here is serving you for your folding allowance, right? Or what we call the hemming allowance. So put 2 inches here. So you must mark 2 inches there. Then after you must have marked the 2 inches, you extend the line in this form, right? Now after that, you apply the short length. So the short length I have, I think is 24. Now bear in mind that if it was to be a normal short length, it would have been 20, 21, that range. Depends on your customer's height though. But then 24 is the short length I have. So you start your 24 inches measurement from the 2 inches here, as you can see properly, right? Then you mark 24 inches this way. It's advisable you mark it twice, so that you can have a straight line on your waistline. Mark it twice, and then connect the line properly as shown. Then after this, the next thing you will do is to determine your crouch. Now at this point, you now divide your hips by 4, add extra 2 to 3 inches or 4 inches, depending on how high you want the short to be. So my customer's choice is a bit above the navel, because she wants the short to serve like a fitted feeling and on the waist area, to give her that waist grabbing or snatching effect that she wants to have, right? So having done that, now the hips of my customer is 47 inches. All right, so divided by 4, I have 11.75. That's 11.75, right? Then I decided to add extra 3 to her crouch, to her hip measurement, to get the actual crouch I will need. Now adding 3 to that will give me 13.75, that 13.75, right? But then don't forget that this short will have a band on your waist, and since it is going to be a high waist short, there will be no need for you to slant or slope the short. You are meant to cut without slanting or sloping of this short. So since it's going to have a band, then you now decide on how wide you want your band to be. If you want to have a 1-inch band, you minus 1 inch from your total crouch depth. If you want to have a 1.5-inch band, you minus 1.5 from your total crouch depth. If you want to have a 2 inches band, you minus 2 inches from your total crouch depth. So in this short, I'm deciding to use 2 inches for my band width. So now, because it is a high waist short, if it was to be a normal waist short, I won't minus the band now. I will cut and then slant and do the normal cuttings of shorts or trouser, which will be taken care of when the band comes back. But since it's going to be a high waist short, I am not going to subtract or deduct or minus anything. I am going to use the same value I have on this, right? So now the hip measurement, I have 47 divided by 4, you have 11 3/4, add extra 3 to it, you have 14 3/4, right? Yeah, sorry, 14 3/4, right? That's 14.75. Then for you to minus 2 inches from it, you have 12 3/4. Do you understand? But then alternatively, how you would do this is by pushing out 2 inches. That inch you want to use for your band, push it out at the waist point and then mark the total value of 14 3/4. That's 14.75. Do you understand? So at this point, I might now decide to mark 14.5. This point, 14.5. I hope you are seeing the chalk. 14.5. Then it's still the same thing if you mark 14.75, but then I pushed out 2 inches. Then if you do not want to push out these 2 inches, you want to minus it from the total 14.75. When you minus it, you have 12.75. Do you understand? That means you will start from the waistline to measure 12.75, which still gives you the same thing, right? Fine, let's proceed. So you mark it that way and then you extend your line outrightly in this form, right? So you extend the line in that form. So once you have marked your line in that form, so the next thing you will do is now to apply your hip measurement on this direction. Now, next trick I want to give you as well is when you are putting your customer's hip measurement, it is not advisable to use her actual hip in the Whitworth marking, but we use her actual hip to get her crouch depth. Now, short is meant to be a bit free, right? In as much as sometimes it's fitted, but now it's better off in a bit free manner because it's kind of a casual outfit that doesn't need to show the contours of the body, right? So you just have to give it that ease allowance. So since my customer's hips is 47, I might decide to add extra 2 inches, 3 inches to it to make it a bit free for the ease. So I will decide to add extra 3 to this. That's 50. Then divided by 4, you have 12.5, right? Then you mark in this form the extra 2 inches. Now, once you have marked extra 2 inches that way, now the pattern of shorts we are using is what we call the plumb line, right? Then this convention will tell you that you measure the total distance from the 2 inches you have to the balance of the short measurement here, then measure total of the measurement, which is 14.5. Now get the midpoint, which is 7.25, right? 7.25 somewhere here. Then that 7.25 is what you will mark all through across the line of the short. So mark 7.25 in this form. Mark it as well on the waistline, 7.25, that way. Then after which you connect the lines across the short in this form. Connect the lines, connect the 7.25 from the waistline to the hip point to the short length. Connect it across in this way. I hope you are seeing the line clearly, right? So this is how the lines will be connected. Now you now take your measurements. Now your waist measurement we have is 36. Now divided by 4, you have 9, right? Now normally we used to mark our 9 from here, 9 inches inwards, but for this particular shot we are going to divide the 9 again into 2 equal parts to place the half from the center line halfway and halfway this way, which is still 9. So 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. So you place your tape 4.5 inches from the center line here, mark 4.5 here this way, and mark 4.5 here this way, which still gives you 9 inches, right? Fine. Then after that, connect the hip point, that exact hip point, to the first 9.5 4.5 inches you marked in this form. Connect this way. Then on this edge, this end point, this pocket area, you add 1 inch. Now this 1 inch you're adding is optional. Now in some cases you might not want to add this 1 inch to the front panel. You might want to take it over to the back to make the front to be fitted. Now I only do this when I'm putting on zips at the side of my shorts, but if the short we have pockets, we have side pockets, that means there should be kind of freedom or liberty or ease at the waist area or at the body of the trouser. So I'll put this 1 inch here, right? But then if you don't want to put this, you leave it to this free hip waist measurement and then connect it to your hip points, right? Now after doing that, now the next thing you will do as well is to use your hip curve from here. Take your hip curve, right? Connect the 1 inch point you have to your hip points this way. So connect it in this form this way. So this is your connection. It has a curvy edge at this area, right? Then after doing this, the next thing you will do is you now look at your knee measurements. Your knee, which now serves as ankle for this short. So the knee is 21. Now divide by 2, you have it to be 10.5, right? 10.5. You know, normally now we divide our ankle by 2, right? So knee is by 2 as well. You have 10.5. Now normally you should have marked the 10.5 from here this way, but then in order to make the short to be balanced on the body of your customer, now divide 10.5 as well by 2. You have 5.25, 5.25. So place it from the center line that went across this way. Mark 5.25 here, 5.25 here, and then mark 5.25 as well here, right? Then after which you connect this one to the 2 inches on your hip measurement this way. Connect in this form, and then connect this one as well this way. Then you can use a hip curve as well to connect this. Place the hip curve in a way that the curvy area is facing inwards to the short, right? Connect this one as well in this form to this point. Sorry, connect this as well to this point, and then you make sure you bring it out in a straight line or in an A-line form at the ending of the 2 inches. So basically you are done marking the front panel. Then you can now mark your pockets. Then pocket I want to have is from the bent line 2.5 inches inwards, and then from here as well you mark 8 because of it's going to be a high waist short, or you can even mark 9 on 8.5. Let's use 8.5 so that it will not be too high for my customer to put in her hands in the pocket, right? Then from this hip line and crotch line, you come up by 2 inches, which serves us for our actual hip point. Then after that, then you use your freehand sketch. You can still mark 0.5 diagonal form in this way. Then use your freehand sketch, connect these 2 inches here, connect it this way, connect it this way, and then connect this way. So we are not going to slope this shot because it's a highway shot, so we are going to leave it this way and then cut. So I will leave the video on to show you how it's being cut. In case of anything you do not understand, the cutting might clarify you or show you the lines properly, how it was marked. So I hope this video will go a long way to explain to you how you can draft the front panel. Now bear in mind that the basic thing you need to know here is how to as well cut the back panel, which I will also show you or give you a clue on how to draft a perfect back panel for your high waist shorts that will lap or sit properly on your hip line without having to give you a bulge on your back waist, right? So you cut out in this form. Then after this is how your front panel will be. Then you notch these points as well, so you also notch here as well, right? So now we are done with the front panel, so let's move over to the back panel.